Okay guys, so in this section we're going to talk a little bit more about grouping and routing within Ableton and how we can group some of these channels together. We can add send and returns, and we can add a drums bus, and we can also send information to compressors or other devices that handle sidechaining, and we can send sort of a kick to our bass channel to sidechain off that. So just to start out, we're going to group some channels up, and this is something that a lot of people often do, is group your drums into a drums bus. So what we're going to do here to do that is we're going to create another audio channel. So that's Apple T or Control T on a PC. Create this audio channel here. We're going to rename this drums bus, and then we're going to select all of these channels here, all of our drums, shift, select them all. Saves us doing it one by one. We can select audio 2, and we're going to select drums bus, which is popped in here. Now you'll notice if I hit play now, we won't hear anything from our drums, that is. So what we need to do in order to enable our drums bus to receive all of this stuff that we've now sent to it is to click monitor in. And once we do that, we've got our drums. Now the nice thing about grouping our drums together is it allows us to have one channel which we can bring them out in and in on, mute, but we can also apply global effects to them. So something we're most likely going to want to do is add a bit of compression to this. So let's get our compressor in. Sorry, I'm just going to use the glue compressor actually for this one. So common practice would be to EQ and compress our drums bus. So now we've grouped them all together. You see I've got my EQ on here. I'm just going to give it a little bit of a boost where the kick is. I'm going to remove some of the muddy harmonics down here, give it a little boost about the top crack end of my snare sort of area, and that's nice just there. I can then turn this setting off. Now I'm going to go into the glue compressor. Now when compressing drums buses and drums, it's worth noting that if you have a very quick attack, you're going to squash the transistors at the beginning of these sounds. So if I do a demonstration now, you can hear how it's sort of leveling the beginning of my sound. I'm not really getting anything out of it. I could even solo the kick through this to demo it a bit better for you. So I'll take those out. So we can hear the kicks getting absolutely flattened here. And you'll see as I take the attack back, I'm giving the kick a chance, the compressor a chance to allow the beginning of its transistor to come through. So that's really handy, and that's something we really need to think about when we're doing this to our drum bus. So let's turn all of these settings on again. Now I want a light amount of compression here, just the sort of 4 dB, around 4, wouldn't go to 5, and then I'm going to bring it up a little bit and make up. Now again, my attack setting is going to be slow. I'm going to bring the release setting a bit quicker, because obviously it's drums, we've got very quick things happening here, we don't need a long release time. I'm going to bring it down a bit more, and in fact instead of doing quite gentle compression on this, I'm going to go for a parallel compression. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the compressor quite hard. I might even bring the attack forward a bit in this case, just because I'm going to allow that transistor to come through using this dry wet setting in a mode. I'm going to bring this up, I'm going to take our dry and wet back down to about 50%. Now I'm going to bring up our makeup like this. So you can now hear we've got sort of a nice sort of tighter, less loose sort of drum sound. I might need to add a little bit of kick back in there. And there we go. So that's how to create a drums bus, and obviously this allows you to do, you know, lots of things. It also allows us to now be able to play with our drums in one piece. So by grouping them all, we can now put creative effects onto them. Something like maybe the beat repeat, and do some sort of creative effects, but it's nice to be able to group all of those things into one place. Now another thing we can do in Ableton is add ourselves in some return channels. So if you go to the top of your screen here, we've got create. I'm going to go create, insert return channel. Now what a return channel is it works very much like a bus, except we get these lovely little knobs here where we can send whatever we want from these channels to a return. So as a for instance, and something quite often done in returns is reverbs or delays. So let's add a reverb in there. Let's add something with a long tail. Now worth noting whenever doing return tracks is to put your dry and wet setting on full, because we're going to get the dry signal out of one of these. So if I play this, we're going to have the dry signal. Now, if I send it all the way into my reverb here, and I was to remove the dry wet, basically all we're doing is doubling it up. So by doing this again, still we're allowing some of that dry sound through, which isn't needed because it's coming out of the original track. So all of your dry wet settings on your send to return should be at full wet. So now we're just blending that wet signal, that reverb sound, we can hear that here, and we're just blending that in with our dry sound here. So I'm going to create a nice sort of quite long reverb, give it a bit of space. Not going to really work on it too hard. I'm going to remove that. I'm going to put it on a high quality setting. And so now, by creating this, we can now send anything we wish to our reverb, which allows us in breakdowns to sort of do build-ups by just automating these send settings. As you can see there. So they're really quite useful, very clever, clever things, done differently in other DAWs, but Ableton have done it very nicely.